One of the questions that I guess everyone asks is, why do we revere cane rods at a time when advances in graphite technology have produced some of the most accurate rods in our lifetime? We think of cane rods as the Excalibur, the foundation of the sport, and they're revered by fly fishermen and collectors for generations. But what is it about cane rods?
Well, brother, with a cane rod, you can have a vast range of action, from very, very slow, as some people think of as old rods, or you can have a rod made very, very fast. And it's not necessarily an indication of vintage or era, because there were some rods, for example, F.E. Thomas rods that were made, some of them were made as very, very fast rods, and some would think of them as modern. And there are modern makers, there are current makers who can make any sort of rod, a slow rod for streamer work, a fast rod, a brisk rod, a point and shoot rod, meaning a deadly accurate rod, or a dry fly rod, or a medium action rod that covers many different uses.
We think of older cane rods as slow and, sort of noodly-like or noodle-like. And we were talking about this earlier. There are contemporary rod makers today that are making rods that are a lot faster than we think of as cane rods, that are much more responsive, much quicker to load and shoot. Talk a little bit about that if you can.
Well, a current or modern maker, he basically can do anything. Make a point and shoot rod, which some enthusiasts don't think of as particularly pleasant. Or they can make a fast rod, a dry fly rod, a medium action rod, a rod that will carry a dry fly particularly well, a rod that will carry a wet fly or a nymph particularly well. And then there are those rods that are basically all around rods, the one rod to have if you're only going to own one bamboo rod. Not a very likely story, but there it is.
That's interesting, because we think of cane rods as made by people who have passed on to the great reward. Would you say there are more cane rod makers today than there have ever been? The sport has experienced a tremendous rebirth, maybe due to COVID, but maybe due to its own merits. Would you think that there are as some or more than there have been in the past?
Yeah, there are more cane rod makers now than there ever have been, and all kinds of reasons for it. What was the movie that was produced 10, 12 years ago?
Not a River Runs Through It.
A River Runs
10,
Through
12
It.
years, 20 years ago.
20 years ago, my goodness. A River Runs Through It was spontaneously created an interest in cane rods, particularly some of the older rods like Phillips and Granger, which they used on the set a great deal. So there's been that kind of activity going on, as well as just a general interest in the making of the rods themselves. Aside from enthusiasts who want to collect them or use them, there are a tremendous amount of fellows and gals actually who are making some beautiful, beautiful rods today.
If you're new to fly fishing, would you recommend that everyone experience a cane rod at least once, and maybe even think about acquiring a cane rod?
Absolutely.
I knew that was coming.
And there's the
great catalogs aside.
Right. You can reference the Jordan Mills Rod Company catalog website.
There you go. Well, thanks very much, Carmine. It's great to have you here. This has been pretty interesting education for me. I think I know a little bit about cane rods, but you certainly are the repository of great information, great knowledge, not to mention the fact that you like fishing cane rods yourself. We'll talk more in our next segment. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.